Chapter 3. That man thus constituted is a creature capable of moral direction and accountable for his actions. After having seen the nature of man and considered it in respect to right, the result is that he is a creature really susceptible of choice and direction in his conduct. For since he is capable, by means of his faculties, of knowing the nature and state of things and judging them from his knowledge, since he is invested with the power of determining between two or several offers made to him in sign, since with the assistance of liberty he is able in certain cases to suspend or continue his actions as he judges proper, it evidently follows that he is master of his own actions and that he exercises a kind of authority and command over them, by virtue of which he can direct and turn them which way he pleases. Hence it appears how necessary it was for us to set out, as we have done, with inquiring previously into the nature and faculties of man. For how could we have discovered the rules by which he is to square his conduct, unless we antecedently knew it, what manner he acts, and what are the springs, as it were, that put him in motion? Another remark, which is a consequence of the foregoing, is that since man is the immediate author of his actions, he is accountable for them, and in justice and reason they can be imputed to him. This is a point of which we think it necessary to give here a short explication. The term imputing, imputing, is borrowed of arithmetic and signifies properly to set a sum down to somebody's account. To impute an action, therefore, to a person is to attribute it to him as to its real author, to set it down, as it were, to his account, and to make him answerable for it. Now it is evidently an essential quality of human actions, as produced and directed by the understanding and will, to be susceptible of imputation. That is, 'tis plain that man can be justly considered as the author and productive cause of those actions, and that for this very reason 'tis right to make him accountable for them, and to lay to his charge the effects that arise from thence as natural consequences. In fact, the true reason why a person cannot complain of being made answerable for an action is that he has produced it himself, knowingly and willingly. Everything almost that is said and done in human society supposes this principle, generally received, and everybody acquiesces to it through an internal sense and approbation. We must therefore lay down as an incontestable and fundamental principle of the imputability of human actions that every voluntary action is susceptible of imputation, or, to express the same thing in other terms, that every action or omission subject to the direction of man can be charged to the account of the person in whose power it was to do it or let it alone. On the contrary, every action whose existence or non-existence does not depend on our will cannot be imputed on us. Observe here that omissions are ranked by civilians and moralists among the number of actions, because they apprehend them as the effect of a voluntary suspension of the exercise of our faculties. Such is the foundation of imputability, and the true reason why an action or omission is of an imputable nature. But we must take particular notice that though an action is imputable, it does not ensue from thence only that it merits actually to be imputed. Imputability and imputation are two things which we should carefully distinguish. The latter supposes, beside the imputability, some moral necessity of acting or not after a certain manner, or which amounts to the same some obligation that requires a thing to be done or omitted that can be really done or omitted. Puffendorf does not seem to have sufficiently distinguished between these two ideas. 'Tis enough for our present purpose to point out this distinction. Deferring to treat of actual imputation and to establish the principles thereof till we have explained the nature of obligation and shown that man is actually obliged to confirm his actions to rule. What has been hitherto advanced properly regards the nature of human mind, or the internal faculties of man, as they render him capable of moral direction. But in order to complete our knowledge of human nature, we should view it likewise in its extrinsic condition, in its wants and dependencies, and in the various relations wherein it is placed. In time, in what we call the different states of mind, for 'tis our situation in life that decides the use we ought to make of our faculties.